Good morning and afternoon. It's Wednesday, 9 a.m. Pacific. Welcome all to the second episode of Season 4 of The Sharing Show in 2022. I'm Kane, and today I'm joined with David, better known as the Workday Sharing Guy. Also joining me is Christy and special guests.
All right, Kane, one of our special guests is a squirrel that's not yet purple. And the squirrel wants to know, what's the most important thing about Zoom chat?
The most important thing about Zoom chat is to make sure that you have set the option to share the chat that you're sending to all panelists and all attendees. So make sure that you click on chat, you select from the drop-down list to make sure that everybody sees the message that you're sharing, because this is the sharing show.
Awesome. Thank you, Kane.
So if you would put in the chat so we can test that, which one that you know well. 0 for none of these, 1 for dashboards, 2 for worksheets, 3 for discovery boards, 4 for sheets.
Okay, and some people, Christy, let's make it be that they don't have to pick the one they know the best, right? So I already see some people doing it. Some people you could do 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1 and 2, or 1 and 3, or 1, 3, and 4. But something you cannot do is 0 and any other number. All right, I'm having fun, Christy. All right, Christy, you're watching the chat, and then you'll calculate everything and get the average?
I am.
Okay. People might not understand. Christy also has a similar sense of humor. One of us is the straight person, and then the other one is the one that makes the jokes. We'll have to figure it out by end of the show, Christy. All right, so get the average. We'll show that at the end of the show. So welcome everybody to season 4. Welcome everybody to season 4, episode 2. Now, this is our typical way of doing the sharing show. If you didn't know, this is season 4. Some of you might be here for the first time. Feel free to put in the chat that you're in the first time. You're not sure how the chat works. But I'm David, the sharing guy. I have a disclaimer. I have an agreement with Workday that everybody knows I am no longer an active Workday employee. If you know Workday, I'm still in the system as an employee, but I am terminated. 8 years ago, I left. But I started over 14 years ago. I left over 8 years ago. I was employee 149. I put 3 zeros there because I think Workday is up to 15,000 now. My views and the views of everyone sharing here do not necessarily represent the same views as Workday. And this is not training. This is sharing. Share-a-thons, the sharing show. These are customers sharing with each other. I'm not the only one on this mission to help as many Workday customers as possible. So I highly recommend the customer sharing movement. Now, what we just did right before a double Wednesday, we just did the sharing cafe beforehand. So for people who don't know about this, go to customersharingmovement.com. Under the cafe, you'll see in January, every Wednesday morning, we went through calc fields, beginner, then intermediate, and then advanced. And then we had the 2-2 calculated field share-a-thon. Well, what did we do next? After calc fields, we did reports. And we did advanced, temporary, simple versus advanced, sub-filtering, matrix, thank you, Alex, who's on this show, composites. And then we did the 3-3 share-a-thon focused on reporting. Then we went to boomerangs, and we talked about RAS, and we've talked XML, XSLT, JSON Studio, and even a no studio approach for doing boomerangs. Then on 4.4, we did the boomerang share-a-thon. What's happening next? Well, we're in the middle of it. Dashboards, discovery boards, slides, worksheets. I'm just calling these things a few of your favorite Workday things. On 5.5, we'll have a share-a-thon, which is similar to what you see here, except you won't be forced on mute, and it'll be 3 different 45-minute sessions across 3.5 hours. So this is a quick picture of all of our guests, and let's get the show going. Christy, over to you.
Sorry, I was tallying up all of these fantastic things we have on chat. So up next, we have Gina from New York.
Welcome, Gina.
Hello. Thank you for having me. So a quick introduction of myself. I'm Gina from New York. So if you hear any honking or crazy yelling in the background, that's my beautiful city. I've been using Workday since about 2015. For the majority of that time, I focused mainly on report writing, but I've also dabbled in other areas like BPs, alerts, all that other kind of fun stuff. The majority of the reports I focused on are advanced, matrix, and composites, and I've worked in a number of different modules in Workday, including HCM, payroll benefits, time tracking, performance, comp, all those fun areas. One fun fact about me is that I have been to Disney theme parks on 3 different continents. There are 12 Disney theme parks around the world, and I have been able to visit 10 of them. I have 2 left before I complete the dozen.
All right, Gina, before the next show, we'll get you over there so you could actually broadcast from one of those final 2 Disney locations.
That'd be awesome. So today I just wanted to give a quick review of something we've talked about before, and that's built-in data source and data source filter prompts. These are prompts that come delivered on a data source or a filter, so you don't have to add these manually. So in our screenshot here, you can see that this data source, extra long one, earning, deduction, payroll results for organization, it has a number of built-in prompts, and it gives you a lot of different options. So for like time frame, you can select a pay period or a date range. You can specify an organization or a worker. So it gives you a lot of different options to return your data. It's one of the reasons I absolutely love this data source. You can see these details either by clicking on the data source or by clicking on the related actions button, and you can see it in the drop-down window. The most important feature to note about this is that Workday will always process the values in these filters first, before anything else, before any filters that you added manually. It will always run these first. If you don't need them and they're not required, you can easily hide them. So this one has, 11 different prompts here, but if you don't need them, it's not required, you can go ahead and hide them on your prompts tab. To view all the prompts available in your report, you can navigate to your prompts tab, and there's a little checkbox there that says populate undefined prompt defaults, and this will populate any prompts available on your report. So if you haven't added anything else, it will populate anything on the data source or the filter. It will also populate anything on like calc fields or anything you've added to the filter yourself as well. One small caveat is it will populate these in alphabetical order, not necessarily logical order. So you're going to have to rearrange them so that they make sense to your end user. Otherwise, it just kind of be all over the place. On the right-hand side here, we have our screenshot. And this is something I just want to like emphatically emphasize here. Do not add the same fields to your filter tab manually. So on the left-hand side, you can see we have an earning and deductions prompt, we have a date range, we have an organization, and on our right-hand side here with our big circle and a cross, we have earning, deduction, company. You do not want to add these filters in addition to the built-in data source prompts. Workday will always look at the built-in prompts first and process those first. If you choose not to use them and you try to add them manually, it will take much, much longer for your report to run. It can take probably up to 10 times longer for your report to go through all those filters and return the same data. So anytime you can use a built-in prompt, use those first. It will return your results much, much faster than if you added them manually yourself.
Gina, I'd seen you do this. I think it was either during the 9/9 Share-a-thon or the reporting the 3/3 Share-a-thon.
One of them. Yeah, I can't remember.
And I saw somebody doing this. We were somewhere, I think it could have been in the sharing cafe, and someone was adding these prompts. And I thought, adding the filter. It's like, wait, that's already built in.
I've seen it specifically on this data source multiple times, which is why I like using this as an example, because people will ignore the earning and deduction ones and they'll put earning. They say, well, I only want earning. And it's like, well, you can still use it. It's still like a valuable tool. Don't dismiss it right away.
Yeah. Okay. And then what you said about alphabetize, I'm laughing about that. So on the left, I see you have from and to on the 4th and the 5th one. But if you had left it, from would have been much higher, and then to would have been much, like the from and to would have been.
And then organizations at the bottom. And I have some of them hidden too. Like there's, I think, 4 or 5 more prompts. It says like separate by worker or by company. So you don't even see those in this example here. But yeah, it's going to organize them alphabetically. So just keep that in mind and reorganize them however you see fit.
Okay, thank you, Gina. We're going to move along here just because this is a preview for those who don't know much about report prompts. There's several people new to Workday in the past year or so. So let's see, Christy, are you still calculating or are you here?
Oh, I'm good. So next up we have Matilda from Sweden.
Hi, Matilda.
Hi, everyone. So Matilda from Stockholm, Sweden. As you know, Rising will be held here in November. I started doing Workday 2016, so been quite a lot of years now. I do mainly focus on reporting and security, but I'm also doing configuration within the talent and performance area. I love doing calculated fields, which I do know is a bit geeky, and I love to find those solutions to the tricky problems. And I'm not that fun as Gina to travel on Disneyland, but my fun thing, given my odd sense of humor then, is that I like to draw the big calculated file hierarchies on real piece of paper and pen, and then I move it over to PowerPoint before starting to build it.
So Matilda, I just saw this as your fun fact that you do paper and pencil. This is one of my aha moments when I learned calc fields. It took me 6 months to learn calc fields, and I asked somebody to help me, and I was amazed. He grabbed for paper and pencil, and that's how he started solving the problem. I was like, oh my gosh, I've been doing it wrong. I need to go to a whiteboard.
And you start your own kind of language with yourself, doing a boxes for business objects and a circle for fields and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, I think I want to do a special separate recording with you just on how you use PowerPoint, because I'd like
Yeah, sure, we can do that.
Okay, all right, here we go. We keep going.
Okay, so I'm going to talk a bit about prompt set then, which I think is kind of a hidden magic of doing the dashboards. By using a prompt set on dashboards, it lets your end user see all the reports on the same tab on the dashboard with the same parameters. And it's really easy for them to just select what they want to see, as you can see on the right side. It's simplify them comparing data with the same population, and you're reducing the risk of the decisions being made on incorrect data interpretation or people running different reports from different places and stuff like that. It is not working together with configurable by user, which my experience is it's mainly used for super users, so might not be optimal for that population. The prompt set is applied to one tab at a time, so you can use different ones, or you can have prompt set only on one tab, for example. You create either a new prompt set or you use an existing one. For example, if you have one already on a composite report you want to reuse, or one you already have on another dashboard, you can reuse that again. Okay, so how do you get started then? Well, you start by creating a prompt set. And as you can see on the left, I've added one here that has 8 different fields. A lot of these fields already exist in a prompt set. For example, organization by type includes subordinate organization and company, but some do not. So for example, you have is manager. That is a quite normal field, but it's not available on the prompt set. But what you can do then is that you build a Boolean field and say, okay, is manager. And technically this field is just a Boolean field, that's it. But you will later on connect that to what that one should mean. And of course, if you then want to do only non-manager, you do another Boolean field for that. There is also an option to do a calc field and create a prompt field and connect that to a business object, for example, job, family, or group. And you can select it, you say, okay, this is a multi-instance or single instance in some cases then, and you select what field you want to populate that for. Then, of course, you need to make sure that when you do the report, everything you want to map into the prompt set should also be on all the reports on that tab. Either use the data source filters. As Gina mentioned, it's super much faster than to just add it on the filters. Or those that are not in the data source, you can just add to the normal filters and populate that over to the prompt sets. If you don't use the same one, please really think about if that will make your end users confused. For example, if you have the option to select only one company, but only 5 out of 6 reports are connected and given that option on, that will mean the 6th report will show the same data regardless if you have picked only one company. So my suggestion is best practice should be that you should have the same prompts connected to all the reports unless it's super clear specified that it's not. And then how to use the prompt set is that you go in and you add it on the maintain dashboard. You need to untick the box configurable by user and then either fill in existing prompt set or you can create a prompt set straight from here. Then you will pop up the prompts that will show up and you can start saying just as a normal report, okay, So what value should you have as the default value for organization by type? Should include subordinate organization, be p-ticked, and stuff like that. Then when you have added the reports that you want to do, you go under the worklet, and to the right, you see map prompts. So you click there and you will map them. The good thing that you need to remember is that it will automate. So this is what Workday gave me when I put up a report. And as you can see, a few of them are not aligned to what I would want it to be. For example, company, Workday said, oh, but that's organization by type. But in the prompt set that I did create, I did have a specific one that was only company. But you just go in and you just select it, the one that you want to have instead. But just good to keep your eyes open for it. And then we are switching over to slides instead. So slides is kind of a new function in Workday. We have been using it for about a year as early adopters, but it's basically PowerPoint within Workday. And you link the data from worksheets. And as you can see here, this is the edit mode. You can link either live numbers like that 20% directly from a workbook, or you can add in charts. You can also add in an effect box, either values or other stuff from the workbook. I added in yesterday's date, for example. You know, you can use that and have that line as well to show some guidelines for where you want people to be at some time of the as well. So it's really useful. Good thing with slides is that you can actually change the colors. I know this is a big pain point for a lot of users in Workday, but you can actually create your company's normal hex codes in here. The tip for this is that you create a dummy presentation as a template, so you only have to add in the organization color codes once, and then just copy that presentation whenever you want to have it. One of the most things I like most is that you can link both tables, link charts, and linked values. I mean, you can create text box, of course, but think of this as a way to display the worksheet data in a really good way.
Now, Matilda, based on the Sharing Cafe we had just the hour before this,
yeah,
I think a lot of people are seeing this for the very first time, as in maybe 90% of
yeah,
the
I know.
100 people here. So, so just give us an idea. Other than right here on the show, is there a fair amount of material on community, or is it pretty sparse?
I think it's pretty sparse still, but it's not that hard to do. I think the first one took some time to do, mainly to understand, okay, how do I link stuff? But once you have started to understand it, then it's quite easy to just go with it.
Okay, maybe in your spare time, we'll do a separate video just to help people out so that people can stare at this screen. We'll get this onto YouTube, but I think there's probably several steps, right? You're just doing a high level overview here for people, right?
Yeah, but it's not that many more steps though. So
okay.
It really is. Yeah, but we can definitely talk more about it if people want to hear about it.
Okay, well, this is you on your favorite drawing utensil.
Of course. When we're not doing calculus, I tend to do slides as well. No, but you can also add in different backgrounds and you can change whatever you want to on the different charts. The good thing with backgrounds is that either you select a full picture or you just take a print screen of some standard presentation you have in PowerPoint in your company and you copy paste that as a background picture. So you can have other pictures or other logos or fonts than Workday are allowing as well, if you want to be a bit tricky. So this is basically what it looks like presentation mode. So if we look just as a normal presentation, you press escape to get out of it when you're doing it. But as you know, when we did this, you saw that 20% was highlighted in edit mode as well as date. But when you start showing it, that won't show. So it will just look as it actually is a good presentation without any fuss, but it's live data behind it.
Okay, wait, I'm going to go back to the slide where you had that. I see, right? You highlighted the 20%, highlighted the date, but that's because you're in edit mode. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, and those are highlighted simply because it's connected to live data from the worksheets. But when you do it in presentation, yeah, it's live data, but you don't need to have it highlighted as that.
Awesome. So let's say you go into a presentation and the data has changed during the time you were ready and it comes up. It'll just come up with whatever is the live data.
Yeah, and you can say, okay, when was this data last updated? Okay, this was last updated yesterday. Okay, good. Then we know about that. And depending on how you do your security on this, you can tweak it as well to make sure that people are allowed to update it themselves.
All right,
without
Matilda,
having access to the full data.
That's super powerful. Thank you, Matilda. Oh, there's more.
Yeah, and just a heads up then, the security, that you either share these presentations either with individuals or with groups. My preference is that you should always share it with a security group, simply because maintaining when someone is leaving and coming in. If you can either choose that they have edit access or only view access, please remember then that if they want to update it, they also need the view access to the worksheet, not edit access, but view access. As well as worksheet slides is one of those places where the normal security is overrun. So either make sure you only use that for high-level data or know who you're sharing what with. So you don't create a big payroll file and share it with everyone, for example.
Pretty important. Okay, that's a good ending point. Yes. All right. Thank you, Matilda.
You're welcome.
Hi, David. Next, we have Christine from California. Welcome, Christine.
Hi,
Thank
Christine.
you. Good morning, everyone. So I'm fairly new to supporting Workday. It's been a couple of years, and I mainly focus on supplier payments, procurement, expenses, banking, settlement, all that fun stuff. I work for the public sector, specifically Placer County. And the fun fact is I have a chainsaw. I use it a lot because I live in the forest. I really love Excel and have a weird fascination for Jeeps. So,
Okay, wait. Are you going to tell us? Did you how many years of chainsaw experience you have?
Fairly new. So my husband always had one, and I was hounding him to kind of clear out the back of our property. So I was asking him to clear some stuff out, and he just wasn't getting to it. And so I was like, well, just give me a chainsaw. I'll do it, because this is pretty big, and I wanted something a little easier to handle. So he got me one about 3 years ago or so, and I cut down I don't know, probably 50 trees or so, one summer. And I do use it every summer to help mitigate fire risk.
Okay,
So.
all right. The point is to not upset you. But I will maybe come visit the next time I go visit Dave.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. What do we got here, Christine?
All right. So what we have here, like I said before, I'm kind of an Excel nerd, and so naturally I really like worksheets. Although it doesn't have all the fancy bells and whistles of Excel, it's very familiar for those who love Excel, like myself. But there are definitely some things to know about worksheets. That's a little bit different than just basically, obtaining reports. So I thought it'd be helpful to kind of go over some common end user issues. So the first thing is refreshing data. So just to kind of give a little bit of a background example, we adopted worksheets, I want to say, 2 years ago when I came on. And although I don't support the payroll side, it just really made sense to convert our payroll over to worksheets because you're able to refresh data with a click of a button. It's super nice. So we had a bunch of end users kind of, go back to their desks and create all these. And a lot of departments changed the process of how they did things. And so they would create this shared workbooks. I had an issue where an individual created a workbook, and then someone else they shared it with, and they were unable to refresh the data. They got this weird error that you see here. Basically, they came back to me and they're like, hey, what's the deal? So one thing to know is about worksheets is in order to refresh it, you need to have access to not just the report, but the prompts that are being chosen on that report. So in this specific case, the individual who was trying to refresh the data only had access to a subset of the department data, not the entire department itself. So that's why she was getting that error. That kind of goes to my next point here, which is the data access. So basically, once you share a workbook with someone, they have access to that data, even if they don't have the security to the data source. So in the previous example, when this individual was trying to refresh the data and was getting this weird error, one thing that I noted to the worksheet owner is, hey, you are aware, they're able to see more data than they normally would based on their current security configuration. They were totally fine with it. They just had it kind of set a certain way just based on job duties. And sometimes they switched different job duties, so it no harm done. But it's something to kind of note. So on one hand, it's a really super great workaround for reports that are like typically emailed out. You might just give them view access or something like that, so you don't have to keep emailing reports, and you can set up a automatic refresh. But the other thing to note is, if you go in there and you add some data, right, some more data, you just have to be aware that you're giving them access to everything in that workbook, so they're able to see everything. So it's just something to be aware of. Next is worksheets for employees that move positions. A lot of end users will set up kind of like master workbooks, and it'll be under a particular employee because they created it, or you share it with them. You have a master workbook and you share it with an individual. So worksheets security is shared with the specific user, not the position. So they're not really linked to a position. Say I move to a different company or a different department within the same company, it doesn't really make sense for me to have access to a workbook. You have to manually remove them, and it's definitely something that's commonly forgotten or overlooked. So just a helpful tip to maybe, as you have people coming on and leaving, just to have a checklist. So the next thing is service center representatives, so non-Workday employees. Currently, we are not able to share a workbook with a service center rep. However, there is a Workday workaround on Community. I will admit I have not yet set up, but I will be doing so hopefully in the next few months. Just been some workload issues, but I did want to, it looks very promising, and I did put that in the link. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Christine. And lots of good comments in the chat. We will have open mic time. We have a couple more guests to go.
David, next up we have Alex from Alabama. Welcome, Alex.
Welcome back, Alex. Now,
hey,
Alex,
everybody.
Alex, I understand, by the way, you go through all your slides because it's helpful for people to see your slides as well as Matilda's. Okay?
Sure, sounds good. Hey, everybody. Okay. I'm Alex from Alabama, if you can't tell by the accent. I started doing Workday in 2017. Right now, I'm mainly focusing on reporting and calc fields. I'm a report admin, but I've also worked with business processes, security, pretty much all of Workday. And I really like using Workday to solve business problems and make things more efficient. My fun fact is I enjoy shooting pool. I actually play on 2 teams here locally and shoot 2 times a week.
I had no idea, Alex. That's awesome.
So yeah, last week on the Sharon Cafe, we talked a lot about dashboards, and one of the things we reviewed was prompt sets. And Matilda covered some of this earlier, but this was the example I had of how to leverage a prompt set for all your worklets on a single dashboard tab.
Okay, I'm going to zoom into all 4 of these one at a time.
Sure. So this is what it looks like for the end user when they go to run the dashboard. They get one set of prompts at the top, and in this case we have a start and end date and an optional effective date that can be applied to all the worklets on the dashboard. So it's just one set of prompts, and it will automatically refresh all the reports so the user doesn't have to go to each worklet individually.
And I see you did not take the default alphabetical approach.
So this is just showing some more about the configuration. When you're actually looking at the dashboard, you can see the prompt set that is applied to that specific tab. And then this is what it looks like when you go to map the prompts. So on one of the worklets, we're only leveraging one of the prompts, which is okay, as long as they're not all required. And then this is what the actual prompt set looks like. So this is one that we created that's a custom prompt set, but you can also leverage Workday delivered prompt sets as well.
Okay, so that's everything all in one picture. Let's keep going.
Another thing that we talked about last week that I just want to mention again briefly was an alternative approach to putting your reports in a menu on the dashboard. So traditionally you'll see like a menu on the right-hand side, and when you want to add reports to the menu, you have to go into the dashboard and edit and add the reports individually.
Yeah.
This is how it looks on the dashboard for the end user. This is actually a worklet that is a report of reports. So what we can do is tag reports or specify names inside of the filter on the report to get all of the reports to display for the end user without having to go in and maintain that dashboard and add them individually. So it's a really simple report. The data source that it's using is standard and custom reports I can run, which, as it says, lets you pick from both standard and custom reports. And there's just the two fields and then the simple filter. So I mentioned that we're leveraging the report tags. So I created a custom report tag for my dashboard, and any report I tag with that will automatically show up without me having to edit the dashboard.
Okay, I know you have more for us, Alex.
Yeah, next I was going to give a brief intro on discovery boards. So for those that don't know, discovery boards is Workday's drag and drop tool to let you do ad hoc analysis and also build out dashboards. There's all different kind of tables and charts and graphs that Workday calls vises or visualizations. There's some that you can export directly as a custom report and some that are only available in discovery boards. So that's one reason why you may want to use discovery boards, that it gives you some unique charts that are not available directly in the report writer. So here I have a list of all the currently available types, and then the ones with the asterisks are unique to discovery boards and you cannot export them as a custom report. But inside of discovery boards, it gives access to things like a scatter plot chart, a waterfall chart, KPIs, which are pretty nice, and also a heat map. And then on the area bar and line, there's additional options that you don't have available on the matrix style charts. And then this is just going through the steps to kind of show you how easy it is. You can create a very simple discovery board in probably less than a minute. So all you have to do is just click on the data source icon and figure out which data source you want to use. So in this case, I'm looking at workers for HCM reporting. So you type that in the search bar and then select it. And then if it has any built-in filters or prompts, you would apply those before going to the next step, but you can just leave it at the default in this case.
Okay, I heard you say less than 1 minute, Alex. That's in Alex time, right? You've got your mouse gymnastics, but okay. So this
once
is
you
really
know what you're doing,
yeah,
it's super simple. So it's like 2 clicks. If you didn't need to change anything on the prompts, you just click apply.
Okay.
And then you select what visualization type you wanted. So in this case, I selected a bar chart. If you knew exactly what fields you wanted to throw on the report, you just drag and drop them. You can scroll and find them in the selection list or use the nice search bar that they provide and just drag and drop. You know, for a bar chart, you only need 2 fields. So there you go. There's a bar chart in less than a minute.
Okay. And the picture you show up top is essentially the list that you had here.
Right. The visualizations that you can select and how they appear inside of discovery boards.
Got it. Okay.
The last step would be just applying any filters. So in this case, I added a filter for hire date, and you can apply your filters at the sheet level or the viz level. So on a discovery board, you can have 1 or more sheets. A sheet can have 1 or more visualizations, and you can set filters that apply to a whole sheet or the individual visualization itself.
Okay, now Alex, discovery boards this used to be only for customers of Prism. Is there an extra cost for this, or does everyone have this?
It is generally available, and you are right. It was originally only available for customers that had Prism, and it still is not available for all data sources. One thing to watch for is they have what they call a curated list, but the data source has to be indexed. So if you're working with some data in Workday where there's not an indexed data source available, it would not let you create a discovery board. A workaround would be maybe exporting that data into Prism first, and then you could discovery board on it that way. But they're working to make more data sources available.
Okay, all right. And I know that word index. That's on one of my favorite checkboxes whenever I create a report.
Of course.
Okay, now Alex, you're going to have a separate breakout. I think you're going to stay in this Zoom. And then we're going to have a separate Zoom for Matilda. And Christy, I don't know if you have time to create that separate Zoom for Matilda. So let's pass over to you. So thank you again, Alex. We're almost through and ready to have a breakout.
Yeah, I sure have time to create that Zoom. Just give me a few seconds.
Okay, thank you, Christy. We're moving to Lindsay from Georgia. Lindsay, thank you for your patience. Are you still with us?
Yeah, I'm here. Thanks, David.
Okay, tell us, this is an exciting looking slide. I see women on Workday alphabetically second from the bottom. What are we looking at here, Lindsay? Some people don't know who you are or what this is about.
Yes, so my name is Lindsay. I am based out of the Workday office in Atlanta. I am one of the co-hosts for our monthly multi-topic customer networking event. John is my other co-host and better half, but he couldn't be here today. So our next event is 5/5. So we're the first Thursday of every month. And this truly is an opportunity for people to come and talk about what they want to talk about. So all of these listed breakout rooms, we allow people to come in and out and go do what you want in each of those rooms, whether you're asking questions, trying to figure out a solution, or simply helping someone else out. It's a great opportunity to network with other, folks that are using Workday. It's a fun time for sure. David always comes along as well. The 6 topics that are listed at the bottom right used to be a part of our networking event, but because they were so large, they now have their own dates. So if you are interested in any customer networking, not just ours, but any of those 6 listed in the bottom right, you can go onto community and search for networking events. And there's an entire page, and it'll allow you to register for any of the events you would like to partake in. Like I said, our next one is on the 5th, Cinco de Mayo. So come join us and have some fun.
Okay, now, Lindsay, just a reminder, 5/5 is a share-a-thon. So everything we talked about here about discovery boards, slides, worksheets, dashboards, we're following this Workday customer networking with the 5/5 share-a-thon. So you've got a whole hour here of networking and then 3.5 hours of sessions.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, but so I see the probably your most popular 6 you've broken out on the bottom right: benefits, compensation, core HR, financials, payroll, recruiting. And then I know the next most popular is alphabetically like 3rd or 4th because I helped start that one, the boomerangs.
Yes.
But
yes.
That's probably tied for the next most popular with the WOW breakout, which is the Women on Workday breakout. So Lindsay, I'm stealing the microphone. I'm not going to say which is the most popular, but that's fantastic. You have so many different sessions.
Yes.
It's customer networking. I believe you do sharing in there as well. What else would you like to say? Is this the first Thursday of every month?
Yes, first Thursday of every month. You do have to register individually for each one, but once you attend one, we do make it pretty easy. We reach out to you to remind you to register for the next month. Yeah, and it's one of those things where you never know what's going to be hot that day. Find that you end up going into 3 different rooms because you learn what you need to and you need to move on. And it's very free flow like that. So it's a good time.
Yeah, speaking about what's hot, like we don't know what's going to happen here on the sharing show. I did not know that John was your better half, so congratulations.
Well, he's my better half on the share on our customer networking. I do have a formal better half. But yes, John is definitely the better half. He brings a lot of energy to our multi-topic customer networking event.
All right, Lindsay, I know you're lying, but you're both better halves of Dawn. So
that's true.
Okay. Thank you, Lindsay, and yes. Welcome back to the show. All right, Kane, we're ready to wrap up.
Thank you, David and Christy, and special thank you to our guest today for speaking on the show. As always, we will publish this episode on our YouTube channel. Head over, like the channel and subscribe so you'll get notified when the next episode is posted. We will see you again in 4 weeks' time in May. So looking forward to seeing you then. I'm going to close the show out and then stay on if you're on this breakout room, and we'll come back shortly.